Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you. The DU Podcast with your hosts, Chris Jennings and Dr. Mike Brazier.
Hi, everyone. Today on the show, we have returning guest Jon Deeter of Guyette and Deeter Auction House. We are at the North American Decoy Collectors Association show and their spring auction. So first thing I wanted to ask you, Jon, well, first, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
What is the Spring Chicago auction? Like, why does it matter?
Right. Well, this is an incredible event. Happens annually. And I believe we're in our 51st or 52nd year of a group of, it's collectors from all over the country that get together in a suburb of Chicago. It used to be Oak Brook, then it was Pheasant Run in St. Charles. Now we're at a new location for the first time, which is the Lombard Westin Hotel. So what happens is collectors from all over the country assemble here for this great event. Our company has a 2-day auction where we'll sell 600 lots, maybe $4 or $5 million worth of duck decoys and related sporting art. But then there's individual dealers that will set up first off in their rooms, so you can do a room-to-room shopping. And then on Friday, those room-to-room dealers move down into the big ballroom, and so the ballroom will be full of dealers selling, whatever it is, duck decoys or shotgun shell boxes or paintings or duck calls that they've made or vintage duck calls. But it's the largest show of its kind in the country. So
why do you think this one congregates people from all over the country, whereas some of the others don't?
Yeah, I suppose that there's a good club that runs this show. I suspect it's geographically located in an area, where people can sort of come from both coasts and meet in the middle. And I think it for some reason, it's just one of those shows that started, again, 50 years ago that has maintained interest. I think part of that interest is, the shows that seem to be doing the best are those with major auctions that occur at the same time. To me, it's a little bit of that Barnum and Bailey theory. The more stuff you put under one tent, the more interesting it is for the people that come. Right. And the more people will come and have a good experience. Yeah. And then they come back.
So when did, it wasn't Guyette Deeter at the time, but when did, was Guyette Schmidt to begin with? When did they start being involved with the auction?
I think that at the time it was Guyette and Julia, and I think Jim, Julia, and Gary Guyette came and sort of joined up with the club to do this event in the mid-'80s. Okay. Our company was started in 1984 by the Guyettes and Jim Julia, and they must have come here for the first time in 1970. And Joe Tonelli was instrumental in getting our company into the auction business here with the club.
Okay, yeah, and he's from this area, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and he was a founding board member, I think, of the club. And
so how has the auction evolved from that beginning to now? I mean, being as big as it is now.
Well, of course, we've ridden the technology wave all the way, right? Yeah. I mean, it used to be that people would come here and buy decoys, and then probably they had some limited phone lines. But now with the internet, we've got bidding from all over the world happening at this event. The technology, I remember the first catalogs back then were black and white, and then there were some catalogs with a few color pages, and that was amazing. But now now there's 350 page color catalogs with internet bidding and phone bidding, and people still come in attendance, and people like to come to these events. It's like, going to a high school reunion with all the people you want to see. Everybody has a common interest, which is the sporting art or the decoy. And everybody's happy here. These are great times.
Yeah. So is this your third live auction since COVID?
This is the second. So,
the second.
We really took a 2-year hiatus with COVID. It's our company's philosophy that having an audience at a show is important to collecting. I mean, for us to have an auction, we really don't need to have an audience because we can do it by phone, absentee bidding, or internet. But it's our philosophy that we need to provide this experience because the social aspect of collecting is so important. And we want to honor that. I think it helps perpetuate collecting into the future because these people like getting together. They want to come to the auctions, not just with the focus of buying something, but it's the whole experience. It's seeing friends, it's going to dinner, it's talking about what they're going to try to bid on, and then maybe going home with something and being successful.
Yeah, and then I would think the importance of seeing what you're bidding on as well, being able to hold it.
That's changed a little bit, Katie. It used to be that people wouldn't bid on anything without seeing it. I've got to hold it. I'm not going to bid on anything without touching it. Well, COVID has taught some of the people that had that mindset, especially when they're dealing with our company, because we guarantee our condition reports. So if we say it's original paint, it's going to be original paint.
All right.
So there's a comfort level. Photography's gotten better. There's more photos available either in the catalog or on the internet. The guaranteed condition reports. I think we've made people feel comfortable that they can buy without holding something, but it is more fun to hold something.
And I wonder, like, I don't know if there's any way to even track it, but like the people that would get more interested just by holding it versus seeing it. Yeah.
I think that's a great point. I think when people come here and they walk in the preview room and we've got everything looking beautiful, they may see something that they didn't see in the catalog.
Right.
You know, whether it's an angle on a decoy or some special paint that's been added or the form of something that they hadn't noticed. Looking at items in a catalog versus seeing them in person, it can be very different. Some decoys are actually just really difficult to photograph.
And then you don't get that like personal connection sometimes. Yeah. Or just influence from peers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe you learn something here about a specific carver and then you want to go after one of those examples for sure.
Yeah. So do you adjust your catalog, like what you're going to sell by location of auction?
Right. The regional play. The regional play was more important sort of pre-computer for sure. You know, out here you'd want to be heavy in Illinois River decoys because we're in the Illinois River area, and you'd want to have Wisconsin decoys because the people from Wisconsin are going to be here. The internet has smoothed that out some. You don't have to sell a great Illinois River decoy here in Chicago. We can sell it in the summer or we can sell it in Easton. I think as you move down the scale to the more common things, the lower price point things, yeah, there's still some regional importance there to have those be sold in Chicago.
Yeah, because I would think like a Graves decoy, for example, like if you're collecting a higher end one, you're not necessarily even living here. Like you're not local to this area, like just the way the world is. Like you don't necessarily live here.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we'll spend the next 6 hours lining up phone bids. So many people don't come to the sales anymore, which is too bad. But they're busy. If you're an orthopedic surgeon and you can do 5 surgeries that day, well, why would you take the day off to go look at some ducks when you can just pick up the phone? Right, you can just pick up the phone and bid on it, and not take not spend $2,000 coming out here for a few days.
You can do another surgery and pay it off.
That's exactly right.
So it makes perfect sense to me. All right, what in this show are you excited to see how it does? Like what is particularly in this catalog?
This sale, each sale has its own sort of fingerprint or is unique in its own way. And this sale I would characterize as having a lot of very good, clean, and affordable decoys. There's nothing that's probably going to break $100,000 in this sale. I can sleep easy. I know that there's lots of people that can buy lots of things, if that makes sense. There's no really sort of tricky or super expensive items. And I like that. It's the common collector can buy a lot of things in the catalog we have for this sale. Yeah.
So does that mean like when you have one of those higher items like that, you're kind of depending on just a couple people? Like you're really trying to shop out to those beforehand?
There's definitely fewer buyers as you move up the price point range. When you get into those $300,000 to $600,000 items, you're talking, you can count the bidders on 2 hands there. Yeah. Whereas, last year in the April sale, we sold 100 items over $10,000 each. And that's a good price point for quality duck decoys, actually, that $10,000 to $30,000.
Yeah.
There's a lot, believe it or not, there's just a lot of decoy collectors that are willing to spend that much.
Yeah. I would think, and then you're probably having to do a lot of prep work ahead for those really high items to get those people on the phone or in the room.
There's an incredible amount of prep work, especially in the super expensive items. We do 2 weeks prior to being here, we're on the road, through New England and through the South or maybe to the Midwest, doing home previews with these very expensive decoys because again, this person may be, too busy or doesn't have the desire to come to Chicago to bid live in the audience, but we need to ensure that they're going to get a chance to see and touch these important pieces.
Would you say that things going online and more on phone and not having to be here has upticked your home visits? So has that changed?
Certainly, we had a lot more home visits during the COVID period. In fact, we would go set up at hotels around the country, and I did one here. And then we just made the announcement, and people came to this hotel. They'd sent us a list of what they wanted to see in advance, and they came to this hotel. We showed it to them, and then we went and had an auction without a live audience.
Okay. Yeah,
that's how we survived COVID. And COVID was an amazing thing. I mean, COVID, we didn't know whether people were going to stop collecting decoys and the world was going to fall apart. But what happened was people really took a look at collectibles and said, well, I'm not going to Europe. I'm not getting on a cruise ship. Maybe I'm going to buy some duck decoys. And they did. And we now have a broader base of people collecting decoys that have come to us as a result of COVID, I guess. So I'm very optimistic about the future of decoy collecting.
Yeah. And I wonder if that personal connection has any, helps as well, like going and visiting them and kind of developing that relationship as well.
Yeah, sure, yes.
Where you probably never would have done it before if it wasn't, not as much if it wasn't for COVID.
Right. Now people know, they'll call us and they'll say, hey, if you're going to be in this area, would you mind bringing some decoys by? It's a service we like to provide.
Yeah.
And they may still come to the auction, but if we're going to be in their area, it's an opportunity to socialize and show them something and get together with people.
Yeah. Does that involve you seeing their collection as well and noticing then at that point then y'all can be talking about if they have holes in their collection in the future? Would that work?
Yeah, certainly it can, Katie. We go, if you can see what somebody has, you might be able to suggest different things that would fit into what they're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think understanding what people have in their collection is very important.
What do you think the importance of this show is to the decoy community specifically?
Well, it's the biggest show of the year. There's more people here. There's more rooms of people selling decoys here. So it's not the first show of the year, but it's the first auction that we have of the year. So it's, I think that gives the show some great appeal. So I would say combined with it's the largest auction of the year each year, combined with the most people showing up to buy, sell, and trade decoys, all that just works to make it an event that most people don't want to miss.
And then I want to ask, I know you're going into waterfowling guns in your auction, which you haven't before. What's that going to be like in the future?
Right. So what we've decided is we've spent a lot of years sort of stepping over good guns to grab people's decoys and sell the decoys. But we really think that good classic doubles and hunting guns are a great fit to our, the demographic of our collector. In fact, a lot of our decoy collectors also collect good shotguns. So we have decided to launch a firearms division, and we're not going to sell, we don't anticipate selling, military guns or cannons and things like that. We're going to sort of stick to gentleman guns, hunting, waterfowling, things like that. Highly engraved guns, can be English shotguns or American shotguns, doesn't matter that way. But it's just such a nice fit that we think we can create a wonderful catalog, high quality guns, and then mix in, paintings, hyper-decorative carvings, and then just traditional duck decoys, because we've got access to all of that. So if you sort of think about it as a gentleman's sale, that's the direction.
So it would be weaved into your existing auctions, or would it be?
No, it'll be a standalone auction.
It'll be
We've hired Wes Dillon, who started the Cabela's gun room business a long time ago, and then worked for Jim Julia. Wes is going to be a consultant on our team, and then we're hopefully going to make another announcement of somebody that's joining our team that'll really sort of seal the deal on our ability to get quality guns in a sustainable supply.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So before we go today, is there anything you want to add about the show or the sale?
No, we've had a 2-year hiatus because of the COVID thing. So people are really excited to be back here to see their friends. And I'm glad that this has happened. COVID seems to be less of a worry for some people now, and that's wonderful. We're very fortunate we're able to get back on track to the things the shows we like to go to, and the people we like to see, and the things we like to do.
Yeah, there's definitely an energy this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice.
Glad you're here, Katie.
Glad to be here. Jon, thanks again for coming on the show and taking the time to talk with me. Thanks to our producer, Chris Isaac, and thanks to you, our listeners, for supporting wetlands conservation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit www.ducks.org/DU Podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.